Ghanatube Sumodofo Snowy Masai so atenase ebusia for intempa so na make out say insembi koso ewo omanga ne mu trending issues akese pa na menum enkwan nu enja fufuo nu nti mesre say be kwa gotie insem a koso na say pa na menedi e ka ho no ato aso emam.
Stay on politics a while longer because we know that political research firm Global Info Analytics says the NPP flag bearership race or the former vice president could win the next primary with some 52% and his closest rival Kennedy Japan just garnering some 17% of expected votes. They are also, amongst many other things, based on polling, predicting that the current General Secretary, Justin Frimpong Kodia, will retain his role as the General Secretary of the NPP, while John Boadu is urging Chairman Wontumi in that race for the chairmanship position of the party. And we just want to show you quickly, by way of what it is that we know, some of the details as have been captured on our dashboard for you quickly. Then we connect with Musa, who is the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. And so here's what the General Secretary race looks like. We see Justin Frimpong Kodia here leading by a country mile. His closest contender will be Henry Kokofu, who is still quite far off. Per polling data, we are seeing 44% for him, and the others yet to even scratch 7%. But there's an interesting aspect of this poll that we're yet to see. There is a 36 percentage point of individuals who are yet to decide who they are going to vote for. It's quite significant, but with the lead Mr. Frimpong Kodia has, I mean, it will be quite interesting whether or not he cannot win that race based on what we're seeing from the latest poll by Global Info Analytics. This is the chairmanship race, and there it's a bit tighter. We see the undecided there as well, quite huge. 34% of respondents say they're not quite clear in their minds just as yet who they want to be voting for. But we see John Boyd, who is the former General Secretary of the party, leading the way in terms of the respondents who've been speaking to Global Info Analytics. And then Bernard Nchibo, known popularly as Chairman Wontumi, following by 23%, and then the rest follow in that order. Again, there's a huge number who say they've not decided just as yet as to who they are voting for. On the presidential, that's where things are a bit different, where we see Dr. Bawumia leading with some 52%, and then Kennedy Japan following with 17%. Let's take all of this to the man behind all of these data points. We're speaking to Musa Dankwa. He's joined us right now for a bit more on what it is that we're seeing. And so, Mr. Dankwa, based on what we're seeing, not in the slightest of chance that Kennedy Japan could rally his way through and win this come January.
Thank you very much for having me. I wouldn't say that. This is early days. You have him on 17% with Bawumia on 52%. But about 9% of people say they won't tell us who they will vote for, even though they know who they are voting for. Historically, we've come to know these guys to be Ken voters. So we suspect that these guys will add to Ken's column. Then you have the 18% who are undecided. And as the campaign moves into full gear, you will see some movement along the line. But Bawumia has the lead that he needs. It's up to him to win convincingly. And there is more work to be done among those who are undecided.
Even with the undecided and the campaigns yet to start, where there will be swings, you've monitored polling data for quite a while. Is this trend expected to change, or we're going to see the gap widen?
Look, this is the first poll we've conducted. We haven't got any trend to fall back to see where the trend line looks like. So I'll be very cautious in the way we expect the numbers to move. But I think the next poll will give us the best insight as to how the poll would unfold in the end. For now, I'll be very cautious. Just that Bawumia is leading, significantly, but he's not out of the woods yet because he needs to win convincingly, and that is yet to be seen.
For the others, we're seeing quite a number of individuals, and if we can just look at that data closely, we see Brian Echampong, we see the Honorable Yaa-Osei-Duchum, we see Kwabena Ejapong, who, quite interestingly, from the polling data, we're seeing 0%, we're seeing Boakye Jako, as well as the Honorable Adai Nimu, all in that race. What are you seeing happening to them? This is a straight up dogfight between Dr. Bawumia and Kennedy Ejapong, and perhaps some of them are just what some like to say, testing the waters with respect to a future run.
Look, the expectation was that Brian Echampong and Educhum will pose the challenge to the two main contenders. At the moment, we haven't seen that in the numbers yet. But if you take a deeper dive into the data and look at Ashanti region, Greater Accra Eastern region, you can see a huge chunk of people who are undecided. Now, if these guys decide to break away in the way of these newcomers, then we could see a different race taking a shape. At the moment, we can't tell. They have to really get their socks off and see what they can do to move the numbers for those who are saying they are undecided or they won't tell us.
Mr. Danko, let's end with the General Secretary race. After that defeat in December, there was a huge clarion call that leadership ought to go and whatnot. But in the General Secretary race, we're seeing a completely different result based on what the party supporters are telling you. What is really happening on that front?
Look, we have seen stark differences between the party supporters and delegates. The views of party supporters are completely, in most cases, different from those of the delegates. In fact, if you take a look at the question we asked the delegates, whether they share the view that there should be a wholesale changes in the party structure at the top, nearly 48% said no, there shouldn't be overhaul of the party at the top. Only 30% said yes, they agree, and another 22% were neutral. So you can see that among the delegates, the mood is not there for wholesale changes. That is why Kobia is probably leading.
Right, we'll leave it here. Mr. Danko, I'm sure there'll be a bit more in terms of analysis for us on matters in relation to politics, the NPP. That flag bearership race is expected in January of next year. We'll follow through and bring details to you if you stay with us here on TV3. But on the other races, they are expected to come a lot later as well. In terms of the reorganization of the party ahead of the December elections. But that's Musa Danko. He is the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, speaking to us this afternoon. So we'll be walking you through what the data point looks like, and this is what the presidential looks like again, just by way of emphasis. We're seeing Dr. Bawumia leading the way with 52%, Kennedy Ejapong with 17%, Dr. Brian Echampong 3%, the Honorable Yaa-Osei-Duchum 1%, then the remainder 0%, 0%, 0%, and there is undecided stuck at 18%, and then those who say they will not disclose now as well, being 9% on that front. And so that's what we're seeing in terms of the data points by Global Info Analytics, but we can't bring you some more stories right now.
For me, I say munyambre equity in sema ekoso ewo omining na obetimi enso e de wadwenche abreme ewo comment box no mu na making kind na e de amofefefe answer na meso mu so no make I will be say aha eye Ghanatube, so subscribe na hit notification bell no emfa mame wodofo so ni ebusiafo sisi ade makram.